All right. How's it going, everyone? Thanks for waiting with me there for a second. My name is Sam. I go by Uncle Sam Toshi on Twitter. I'm a software engineer at Galoy. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about open source Bitcoin banking. Just a little highlight, what I'm going to talk about. So, going to start off with why open source Bitcoin banking. This is going to sound a little similar to Justin Moon's presentation that he did at BTC++ on Fedimint. Going to move on to Bitcoin Beach wallets and what the Galoy stack is. And then finally, we're going to give out some free corn, some free Bitcoin, and do a little demo hacking on the Galoy API, get you guys ready for today. So if you, for the demo, what you're going to need is a token, an authentication token that will give you. So right now, if you go into the Telegram group, I added a username. It's andbegin. It's in the Telegram group for BTC++. And you can message him and ask for an authentication token. And that's how you'll get your free corn when I get to the demo part of the presentation. So if you guys do that right now, then when we get there, we'll be ready to go. All right, why open source Bitcoin banking? The current financial system. So this is my big scary hook. But basically, I don't need to spend any time on this slide. As a Bitcoiner, we all know that we're having our wealth inflated away by central banking. We kind of hate banks. They're slow, they're opaque. You have no idea what's going on with them. And it's a permissioned, gate-kept system. Again, we all know the problem. If you don't know this, I'm not sure why you're here, but Bitcoin fixes this, right? This is what Bitcoin fixes. And the answer is yes, there are solutions to this. You can run your own node and ensure that your wealth isn't being inflated away. You can custody your own money with multi-sig, hardware wallet setups. You can spend it easily over Lightning and cheaply. You can use it privately by using coin joins. There's solutions to the existing banking system. But I will throw on one asterisk there, and that Bitcoin fixes this given enough time, money, and technical knowledge. So sovereignty is definitely a spectrum with trade-offs. And as I was describing earlier, the trade-offs for the sovereignty that we choose to have, it can be expensive getting hardware wallets and nodes, and it frankly takes a lot of time and energy learning about the different tools and how to use them correctly. And this is an awesome choice for those of us that know how to use it. And I think this sovereignty spectrum will get easier over time, but there definitely is an opportunity for those maybe in a less sovereign space that have different trade-offs and risks they're willing to take. So this is where Bitcoin banking comes into play. And by banks here, I mostly just mean anything that is custodial or semi-custodial. So kind of the three major improvements you get off the bats are better UX. Instead of having to run your own node and run your Lightning node, open channels, balance them, make sure you have liquidity, keep track of keys. All of this complexity can be abstracted away. You can access Bitcoin over Lightning and on-chain without having to know pretty much anything about it. You can do away with keys if you need to. You don't have to wait to open channels. You can even have like a customer support line, which is something that you don't have with Bitcoin. You can lower cost. If hyper-Bitcoinization happens, as we all think it will, it's just going to get more expensive to transact on chain and to open and close Lightning channels, as well as just the cost of running a node and having hardware wallets. With a custodial solution, you can have free intraledger payments within a bank, and you can also take advantage of Lightning channels that are already opened. And finally, access to security privacy. Obviously, this isn't privacy from the bank, and it's not security from the bank, but there is a level of privacy you get from being in an anonymity set of other people that are using the bank, whereas someone new on chain or reusing their Lightning node might not receive off the bat. And you can get security through things like limits and multi-factor authentication. Now, again, this has trade-offs too. This is on the other side of the sovereignty spectrum. And I'm not, obviously, this is not the side that we're on, and most of the people in this room. And the trade-offs for this, you have the risks of government overreach, you have risks of rug pull, security risks from hacking, or censorship. So different threats for sure exist. These can be minimized by coming at it from a local level and having the free market find trusted institutions. But our kind of hypothesis is that for a large amount of people, these trade-offs will make sense in some cases. So if you reintroduce some concept of banking, are we left off with where we started? Like, is it just the existing financial system? And we believe that there are benefits that you get. The first is that you're able to decentralize and move to a more local level. So instead of going through a highly permissioned financial system with brick and mortar setup, plugging into a permissioned Rails, you can now plug into a unpermissioned Rails. Obviously, you still have to get regulatory approval and figure that out, but you're now on an open monetary network. And especially with open source software, you're now able to spin up a bank very easily. And so the cost of starting it is much lower than traditionally. And in this way, it can decentralize to more of a community level bank where you can bring back community trust. The next thing that you get is improved transparency and custody. Instead of the opaqueness of the traditional financial system, you've got auditability. You can do things like proof of reserves and proof of liabilities. You can audit the bank on chain, and you can go and read the code yourself if it's fully open source. And finally, by having an open source Bitcoin banking standard, you get the network effects that come with all open source projects of, as more and more people start to build on it, they contribute back to it, get rid of security bugs, and add new features. So that's kind of the idea of Bitcoin banking, that it's not necessarily for those that want to be the most sovereign as possible, but it is a trade-off that makes sense for a large portion of the world, at least currently. So let's talk about Bitcoin Beach Wallet and how Galoy fits into this. So Galoy is the team behind the Bitcoin Beach Wallet. For those of you that aren't familiar, Bitcoin Beach is El Zante in El Salvador. And in 2009, you had Mike Peterson, Jorge, and Chimbera doing different youth programs and computer classes around the community to help out. In 2019, they received an anonymous donation of Bitcoin with the goal of starting a circular Bitcoin economy to help the community. And that's when our founder, Nicholas, came in and specifically developed a Bitcoin Beach wallet for this community. And this, the project of Bitcoin Beach ended up ultimately inspiring the adoption of Bitcoin in El Salvador. So this wallet was tailored for Bitcoin Beach. You can see here some of the different features it has. You've got send and receive easily via Bitcoin and Lightning on chain, contacts, some earning feature for learning about Bitcoin and introducing people to it, as well as a merchant map. So that was Bitcoin Beach Wallet. And what happened with the introduction of Galoy is, how do we make this reproducible and able to spread to other communities and institutions? So Bitcoin Beach Wallet became its own company, the bank that's running the software. And Galoy took the software behind it and open sourced it. And that became Galoy's Bitcoin banking stack. And to give you a little background on the Bitcoin banking stack, the things that are part of that is you have that mobile wallet, so the Bitcoin Beach wallet. You have a web wallet. Web wallet makes it much easier to spin up a bank because you don't have to go through any app stores, and you can iterate quicker on deployment. You have a GraphQL backend API, and that's what's talking to the Lightning and Bitcoin nodes and keeping track of accounts. And then finally, you have this multi-sig custody, where you can get a unique trade-off for custody and have community leaders that are running the bank actually keep most of the funds in cold storage and periodically rebalance to the hot wallet. And finally, one more feature that we're rolling out currently that we believe helps, again, with meeting people where they're at on this trade-off and sovereignty spectrum is synthetic dollars. So this is providing stability, basically USD accounts in their Bitcoin wallets. Obviously, long-term Bitcoin is the currency you want to hold, but there are many people that have monthly expenses that are in USD, and they need to be able to keep a USD balance for short-term volatility. And what we're rolling out is the ability to have a USD balance that stays tied to that, and then you still transact over Bitcoin and Lightning, similar to something like Strike, where the interoperability comes from the Lightning Network, but at rest in the bank, it is tied to a specific US dollar balance. Something that we think will be helpful for those that can keep their savings accounts in sats, but as they go through the progression of being fully orange-pilled, they can start off with USD balances or have that be some mix of their stuff, of their money. And if you're interested in how we built this or more of the trade-offs that come with building out USD, our founder did a good talk. We can link the slides after this. Cool, so that is the platform. And then kind of Bitcoin Beach was the proof of concept. And this is the part where we're trying to make Galoy a banking standard where other communities start to adopt it and actually contribute back, making it better for the whole group. So we had Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica that ended up running their own instance of Galoy and submitting some PRs back to the project. And we're working with a few other communities right now. Praia Bitcoin in Brazil. We have OpenOms working on getting our stack hosted on a Raspberry Pi or a simpler setup, and a couple other projects with Bitcoin Lake and Bitcoin Teranga. And then finally, you have your very own Nick T of Austin that is, rumor has it, setting up the pleb bank of Austin. There's going to be no KYC, no limits, and it's hosted on his laptop. Cool. Okay, the hacking part. What can you actually do with Galoy today if you're interested? And let's get you some free Bitcoin. So hopefully everyone got the chance to reach out to and begin in Telegram and get a token. You can tweet at Galoy Money or go to chat.galoy.io if you want to get a token for this demo. But I'll walk you through our API and just a couple of the different endpoints we have that if you want to use today, you can. So we have, let me exit out of this. freecorn.galoy.io. You can go to, this is our hackathon instance of Galoy. Let's see if I can make my screen bigger. freecorn.galoy.io. Yeah, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get tokens figured out as well. And also, Nick, by doing his little demo of the Pleb Bank of Austin, is our latest hire at Galoy. So good things coming out of the Austin Bitcoin community. Cool. Is anyone still waiting on a token? Okay, we got a couple people here. Can give it a minute or two. Can give you a little more background. So this is Apollo Studio. It's a GraphQL Explorer. So we wrote our API using GraphQL, and with that comes a bunch of developer tools and ways of interacting with GraphQL. And we created this tutorial. You can walk alongside me right now and do it, or do it maybe after this as part of the hackathon or at some point. We currently don't have a way of, normal authentication would be signing in with your phone or maybe an email. But for this environment, what we've done is we've pre-created accounts and then created these authentication tokens for anyone who's interested in going through the tutorial. All right. Hopefully people had enough time to get a token or can follow along after the fact. So in this Explorer, the first thing you need to do is you need to set the token as an environment variable. So if you go to Explorer and then into Settings, at the very bottom, you have a environments variable, and you just add your token into that category. And from that point on, you'll be authenticated to the Freecorn Galoy instance. Okay, yeah. We can give you a little bit more time. Yes. Can. Try. Might lose a little fidelity, but any questions in the meantime while we wait for these tokens to come in? Yep. You know, that would be a question for our founder who built the initial prototype. I'm not sure the specific reason. I think maybe he was just familiar with that stack. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so in these environment variable, you've got the curly brackets, token, colon, and then the token that you got. Nope. Any other questions so far? Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing the tutorial then. So once you have your token in your environment variable, the first query that you can make is the me query to find out who you are and the different wallets that you have in your accounts. So if we click on this play button, and we click, the query should be ready to go off the bat. Click me, and you can see this is our first API response here. So we have in our default account, we've got two wallets right here. Our first wallet is BTC with a balance of 5,000 sats. And our second wallet is this USD wallet with a balance of 500 cents. So you can spend and receive from either wallet over Lightning. And so we'll do that demo right now. So now that we have these wallets open, we'll keep this here because you'll need it for a later API call. Go back to the tutorial. And what we're going to do is pay a no amount invoice using USD. So right here, what you can do is copy all of the variables for this query and do the play button on this. Actually, this is a mutation, which is LN no amount USD invoice payment send. Basically, just pay a Lightning invoice from your USD account. We'll add in these variables right here, and we need to fill it in. So our wallet ID that we're paying from is our USD wallet. Right here, we'll copy and paste that. And then we need a payment request. And for that, I will use CoinOS. I've given them plenty of money already for getting my password to my anonymous account. But if for those of you that haven't used CoinOS, it's just a lightweight mobile Lightning wallet. So generate an invoice here. We'll copy that, and it's no amount. Put that in the payment request. And then we need to choose the amount of cents that we're going to send. And we'll send 100 cents. All right, that query or mutation should be ready to go. We can click send. Waiting on a response. So right now, and we got back success. We can look at CoinOS. We'll wait for this to refresh with that invoice being paid. But what happened was from your USD account, you sent 100 cents. Our backend gave a quote on how much Bitcoin that would be, and it sent it over Lightning to that invoice. We'll wait for that to come through on CoinOS. But the way that we can check that it went through is if we go back to our me query and run it again, we see that our current wallet balance is now at 400 cents. And we can actually get the history of this transaction by doing a transaction query or by adding to this me query the transaction fields. So we run this, get a response, and we see these are all the transactions in both wallets. And on the right-hand side, let's make this a little bit bigger. You can see that we just had a settlement amount of minus 102 cents, with 2 cents being the fee on that. Cool. So that was sending a no amount invoice. You can also send an invoice with an amount by adding whatever amount of sats that you wanted to send and pay that. But very similar process. It goes through that in this tutorial. The other thing that we can do is receive an invoice. So we'll go through that mutation real quick. So for that, you'll do ln-usd invoice create. This creates an invoice to your USD wallet for an amount. So we'll copy these variables and go to this mutation. Up here, we need to give it our USD wallet ID. And then we need to specify an amount. We'll say 20 cents in USD we want to receive. So when we make this call, the 20 cents will get a quote from our back end for how much Bitcoin this will be. And this is the payment request that we need to make right here. That's the invoice that needs to be paid. And that can be turned into a QR and paid by any wallet. And this essentially functions as a call option on buying Bitcoin, right? Because it is a specific amount of sats that'll convert to 20 cents in USD. And so the invoice is only good for a couple of minutes to make sure that that wouldn't be gamed. All right. OS refresh. So now we can send some sats here. Payment sent. And we can check the me query again to see if that's gone through. And we see 420 cents in the USD wallet. So that was going through sending and receiving on Lightning. You can do the same thing on chain. There's a couple other options that we have for endpoints. We have a subscription endpoint that will give you updates on price feeds, as well as any updates on your invoices. So if we run this subscription, give it some time to have a response, but it will keep us with a continuous price feed so that if you were to build out a mobile wallet or any kind of application that needed a consistent price feed, it would have that data coming in live. Try that one more time. There we go. I believe every 30 seconds, it'll send a price update. We'll do one more mutation here, and that would be setting a username. So on our account, you can have a username, update username. So we'll copy these variables here. We'll click on this query. We need to put in username. We'll do BTC plus plus. Update the username. And we got a success response back. And now what you can do is you can create invoices on behalf of a username using either a Lightning address, or here we have a web front end, which would be pay.galoy freecorn BTC plus plus. Okay, so now we just generated an invoice on behalf of an account that you don't have to be associated with an account. So this is helpful in a situation where you're a merchant and you want someone to pay you without you needing to have your wallet out. It's a static QR basically for that person, or a static URL. And we can make a payment here from CoinOS again. We'll send 50 sats. Payment sent. And then we can check, see in here, our balance should be updated. 22, going through. Cool. So that is the Galoy API, high level. If you want, you can look through it more deeply by going through the full tutorial. Go back to the presentation here. Just to have a couple more slides. But so how can you use this for the hackathon today? There's kind of a couple ways that we see that you could use Galoy today. The first is if you just need a simple Bitcoin interface. If you want to create Lightning invoices and pay Lightning invoices without having to deal with any kind of lower level Lightning infrastructure, you can use this freecorn.galoy.io, the hackathon instance today, and use that for invoices. On GitHub, we have Galoy Client, which will give you some inspiration. That's what we use in both our mobile wallet and our web wallet. The other thing that you could do is build on top of Galoy. That could be either creating your own embedded web wallet in an application that you were making, or something like a personal finance tool to give people an overview of their account. Basically anything that's designed to target the Galoy API. And a good resource for that would be the web wallet on GitHub. And finally, as we're hoping to become a standard for open source banking, and if you want to participate in that or just get more familiar with the code base, we welcome any kind of contribution to the Galoy repo itself, such as things like proof of reserves or liabilities, or anything that you think a Bitcoin bank should have moving forward. And for that, you can go to Galoy on GitHub or jump into our chat at chat.galoy.io. We also have a couple other links below here with some dev docs and to our GitHub. Awesome. So yeah, Galoy is a great company to work for. We have 17 employees. We're all over the world. And if anyone wants to work with us, definitely reach out in our chat. You can work on an open source task or apply for a job. Usually you work on a task as part of that job application anyway, but we would love to have contributions regardless of where you're at. Thank you all so much for your time and appreciate being here. Absolutely well done. Any questions? Cool. Yeah, if you have any questions about Galoy during the hackathon, if you're working on the tutorial, let me know. Nick and myself are here to help. Also, if you want early access to our mobile wallets, come talk to Nick and I, and we can get you in the test flight group so you can check out what we're doing with USD integration there. Cool. Thanks again, everyone.